opportunity to review the FTC letters. You have not come over to review those letters. Third, the idea that I believe both of these individuals who are getting ready to testify, I believe they're both Democrats. The idea that two journalists who happen to be Democrats—
Did you not give that offer at 8 o'clock last night?
I'm talking now. Your time was ended a few
Neither of
seconds
us
ago.
are in time.
I don't think they're here to help us politically. I think they're here to tell us the truth. And oh, by the way,
Your view is less valuable because you have not experienced what I've experienced. And that is an identity argument, that's a character argument, that's not a rational political argument that can actually be taken on in any way. It's more of a cudgel and a club than it is an attempt to open a discussion.
Well, I think it's a demonstrable evidence that through society's demographics that being white has societal privileges that being black does not. But
we can talk about how that manifests, because that's
I'm also interested in—
Patriots, Jim Jordan and Ben Shapiro just exposed Stacey Plaskett in a way the mainstream media will never show you. This was a battle of facts versus rhetoric, truth versus political theater, and the left got absolutely dismantled. Jim Jordan demanded accountability. Ben Shapiro delivered logic and facts. And Stacey Plaskett? She had nothing but weak talking points.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not exaggerating when I say that you have called before you two witnesses who pose a direct threat to people who oppose them. It's funny when people have to go through that. Exactly. This is unacceptable. I'm ready for it. I don't know if a lot of other people are. But just as it was unacceptable for Kevin McCarthy to provide 41,000 hours of sensitive security footage to a biased talking head in an effort to rewrite what happened on January 6th. This is a new Republican playbook, apparently. Risk American safety and security to score political points.
The gentlelady's word should be struck. We do not accuse witnesses of threatening others. That is out of line and outside the rules of this committee.
That, and I can have an
You don't get to
opinion
determine
about
what's struck down.
well, you do get an opening statement, and it's about
finish.
over.
The committee will suspend.
We know this is because at the first hearing, the chairman claimed that big government and big tech colluded to shape and mold the narrative and suppress information and censor Americans. This is a false narrative. We're engaging in false narratives here, and we are going to tell the truth. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. I would just point out the consent decree was in our report. We offered your staff also the opportunity to review the FTC letters. You have not come over to review those letters. Third, the idea that I believe both of these individuals who are getting ready to testify, I believe they're both Democrats. The idea that two journalists who happen to be Democrats—
Did you not give that offer at 8 o'clock last night?
I'm talking now. Your time was ended a few seconds ago.
Neither of us are in time.
I don't think they're here to help us politically. I think they're here to tell us the truth. And oh, by the way, the first FTC letter to Twitter after the first set of Twitter files, the very first question was, who are the journalists you're talking to? And you guys don't care. You don't care.
You don't want the 2011
people to see.
consent decree?
You don't want the American people to see what happened, the full video, transparency. You don't want that, and you don't want two journalists who have been named personally by the Biden administration, FTC, in a letter.
The Biden administration—
And you're saying they're here to help us? They're here to tell their story. And frankly, I think they're brave individuals for being willing to come after they've been named in a letter from the Biden FTC.
Is this your question time now?
No, I'm responding to your ridiculous statements you made in your opening statement.
Okay, well, let's get on with it.
Oh, now we want to get on with it. So you can say all the things you want, and I point out
I did
the
in my
facts.
opening statement,
I
as
point
well
out
as
all
you
the
had an
facts.
opening statement. You
Chair-
said what you needed to say in your opening statement, and I, as the ranking member, have
Without
used my
objection,
time.
all other opening statements will be included in the record. We will introduce today's witness, Matt Taibbi. He's a journalist and author. He's one of the authors of the Twitter files, previously worked for Rolling Stone, that right-wing publication, Rolling Stone, where so many Republicans work at. He's also written several books about American politics and culture. And of course, as I pointed out, as the Wall Street Journal pointed out yesterday on the front page, was named by the FTC. Michael Schellenberger is also a journalist, author, and one of the authors of the Twitter files. He's also co-founded several nonprofits, including Breakthrough Institute, Environmental Progress, and the California—
Mr. Shapiro, you talked about white privilege. And just this week, I had a conversation with Rachel Lazar, who's done some work, a Jewish American woman who's done some work on this area, as well as having extensive conversations with Dr. Greg Parks of Wake Forest University, who's also talked quite a bit about critical race theory. And it's my understanding that white privilege is not telling individuals that they cannot speak, but it is a term for societal privilege that individuals have as a benefit of their white skin. And I don't think that, and I think universities would be remiss to then say that because you're white, you're not allowed to say anything that's critical of white people. I didn't know that white privilege actually went into that sphere. My understanding is it's just, and the issue is that white privilege makes people uncomfortable to talk about the societal privilege that they have.
Well, to me, what I say on campuses all the time is if you want to cite instances of racism that we can all find and fight together, that's something that I'm more than willing to stand next to you and fight, because that's obviously stuff that we should fight together. But when you just say that there is a white privilege out there in the ether and that by dint of birth your skin color generates for you an advantage, what you're really saying to people is that your view is less valuable because you have not experienced what I've experienced. And that is an identity argument, that's a character argument, that's not a rational political argument that can actually be taken on in any way. It's more of a cudgel and a club than it is an attempt to open a discussion.
Well, I think it's a demonstrable evidence that through society's demographics that being white has societal privileges that being black does not. But
we can talk about how that manifests, because that's
I'm
more
also
specific.
interested in what you just said now, was that you would stand next to anyone who has this. So, Mr. Shapiro, my question to you is, for Ms. Dunston, the tying the noose around the campus and writing messages that target African-American young students, would you consider that hate speech, and then would you stand next to her and fight for her?
As I say, I would.
against that?
This is the first I'm hearing about it, honestly. But
Really?
Yeah. But from hearing about it, maybe because it's local. I mean, I'm from LA. But in any case, I'm more than happy to stand alongside her and fight whatever group was responsible for this. Not only more than happy. I mean, you're talking about the alt-right. Again, I was the #1 target of anti-Semitic harassment from the alt-right last year. So I'm more than happy to do all that. And I think there's one more distinction that has to be made. When we talk about cases like Taylor's, they're horrific, and the administration is siding with Taylor. Okay, the administration is doing the right thing by Taylor, or trying to do the right thing by Taylor, as they should be. And I think that we need to make a distinction between cases where the administration is actively participating in the suppression of speech and cases in which the administration is trying to do the right thing in order to punish people for application of crime.
Welcome back to the channel, Patriots. Before we jump into today's breakdown, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of the truth bombs we're dropping here. The mainstream media won't show you this. Big tech wants to silence it, and the only way we fight back is by building this movement together. So smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into it. Now, I just watched Jim Jordan and Ben Shapiro take turns going after Stacey Plaskett, and let me tell you, this wasn't just a debate, this was a wake-up call for every American paying attention. It was a showcase of what happens when truth and logic collide with empty rhetoric and political theater. And folks, it wasn't even close. Let's start with Jim Jordan. He doesn't mess around. He came in demanding straight answers, no spin, no excuses. He went after the heart of the issue, pressing Plaskett on real accountability. Every time she tried to deflect, every time she leaned on vague generalities or partisan lines, Jordan cut straight through it. That's the kind of leadership the American people are desperate for, someone who doesn't tiptoe around corruption, someone who's not afraid to call out the nonsense we see in Washington day after day. Jordan represents that grit, that determination to hold the swamp accountable. Then you add Ben Shapiro into the mix. Shapiro doesn't have to yell or pound the table. He comes in with facts, history, constitutional principles, and cold, hard truth. Watching him dissect Stacey Plaskett's arguments was like watching a surgeon at work. Calm, precise, and devastating. She tried to rely on the same emotional appeals and tired Democrat narratives, but when you put those arguments up against actual data, actual history, and actual reasoning, they collapse every single time. And this is the problem for Democrats like Stacey Plaskett. They thrive on soundbites, on emotion, on identity politics. But when someone like Jordan demands accountability, or someone like Shapiro brings receipts, they've got nothing left. The mask slips. The weakness shows. And the American people see it clearly. Now, let's be real here. This isn't just about one exchange. This is about the bigger picture. This is about the fact that Democrats keep pushing narratives designed to divide us, distract us, and silence dissent. Stacey Plaskett represents the same broken machine that wants to tell you the government knows best, that free speech is dangerous, and that the Constitution is outdated. Meanwhile, patriots like Jim Jordan are saying, no, the people run this country, not the elites. And voices like Ben Shapiro are proving that truth doesn't need a filter. What we're witnessing here is a clash between two Americas. On one side, you've got the political establishment, career politicians, and media puppets who want to hold on to power at any cost. On the other side, you've got patriots, freedom fighters, and truth tellers who are standing up for the principles this country was founded on. Limited government, individual freedom, personal responsibility, faith, family, and country. And here's the kicker. The establishment is terrified of moments like this.
Why?
Because when people like Jordan and Shapiro expose the weakness of their arguments, the whole house of cards starts to wobble. The left relies on censorship, on silencing opposition.